The alien fleet drifted in silence across the endless stars. The war had gone on for too long. Once, the Seraph fleet had filled the skies with bright banners and proud voices. Now, only broken metal and dying lights remained. Their ships burned slowly, torn apart by the enemy, cold, merciless machines that never stopped coming. Admiral Cora Valine stood on the bridge of her flagship, Varen's Hope. Her eyes were tired but still sharp. Around her, the crew worked in silence. Every console flickered. Sparks fell from the ceiling. The air smelled of smoke and despair. "Shields at 3%, said the tactical officer quietly. "We cannot take another hit." Cora looked at the giant screen ahead. The stars were disappearing one by one behind the black clouds of the void machines, a swarm of steel and death that had hunted them for years. The machines spoke no words, sent no warnings. They simply erased everything alive. "How many ships remain?" Cora asked. 13, Admiral. Maybe less. Most are losing power. 13. Once they had 1,000. Cora closed her eyes. She could almost hear the voices of those who were gone, friends, families, soldiers. She wanted to save them all, but there was nothing left to fight with. Fuel was gone. Weapons nearly dry. Even hope was fading. She turned to her comms officer. "Send the signal." The officer hesitated. "Admiral, the deep space beacon hasn't worked in centuries." "Send it anyway," Cora said firmly. "Someone has to hear us." The young officer nodded, tears in his eyes. He pressed the key. A deep hum filled the ship as the distress signal fired into the void, into a direction no one had traveled in thousands of years. Silence followed. Only the soft crackle of dying systems remained. Cora leaned against the rail, watching distant explosions bloom like dying stars. The machines circled them, cold and patient. They didn't rush to finish the job. They knew the Seraph had nowhere to run. "Admiral," said her science officer, "we've detected movement beyond the outer rim." Cora frowned. "Machines?" The officer hesitated. "No, ma'am. Something else. The readings are strange, power levels beyond anything we've seen." Cora's heart tightened. "Show me." On the screen, faint blue energy flickered at the edge of the star map. It was far away, almost beyond known space. The readings pulsed in patterns, too ordered to be random, too strong to be natural. "Could it be a trap?" asked the helmsman. "Everything out here is a trap," Cora said. "But if it's not, it might be our only chance." Another explosion shook the ship. The Varen's Hope trembled. Alarms wailed. "Engines failing," someone shouted. Cora gritted her teeth. "Hold the line. Protect the civilians. We will not fall without a fight." She stared at the flickering signal again. It called to her, a pulse from the dark, almost like a heartbeat. Hours passed. The battle grew quieter. Fewer Seraph ships responded to her calls. One by one they went silent. Cora sat in her command chair, hands clasped, staring at the comms display. Her voice was steady, but her heart was breaking. "This is Admiral Cora Valine of the Seraph fleet," she said softly into the recorder. "If anyone hears this, we fought as long as we could. We protected our people. We did not run." She looked around the bridge. "You all fought with honor. Whatever happens next, remember that." The crew nodded silently. No one cried. There was nothing left to say. Then, something strange happened. The radar flickered. A soft beep echoed through the bridge. Then another. And another. "Admiral," whispered the officer. "The signal, it's stronger now." Cora turned sharply. The blue energy on the screen was expanding, spreading like a wave through space. "Identify it," she shouted. The ship's AI responded in its calm, mechanical voice. "Unknown source. Composition, biological and technological hybrid. Origin, unconfirmed. Estimated power output, beyond recorded limits." "Impossible," Cora muttered. "No known fleet has that kind of energy." The comms officer gasped. "Admiral, the signal, it's not machine code. It's language." "What language?" The officer's voice trembled. "Ancient code, ma'am. From the archives. It's human." The entire bridge fell silent. Human. That word hadn't been spoken seriously in thousands of years. The Seraph had always told stories, that they were descended from the first ones, an ancient race that disappeared before time was written. Some called them myths. Others called them gods. Cora's voice was barely a whisper. "Run the code again." The signal grew louder, clearer. Then, suddenly, a voice. A real voice, calm and commanding, filled the bridge. "This is Earth Command, hold your position." Every eye on the bridge turned toward Cora. No one spoke. Cora's heart stopped for a moment. Her mind raced. Earth Command? That was impossible. Humanity was supposed to be extinct. They had vanished before the Seraph were even born. The crew looked at their admiral, waiting. Cora stared at the empty stars, her voice low and unsteady. "Hold position," she repeated softly. They said hold position. Outside, the dying fires of battle flickered against the cold dark. And far beyond the last known star, something massive was moving. Something ancient, powerful, and unmistakably human. The machines paused in their advance as if sensing the change. For the first time, the void itself seemed to tremble. The Seraph fleet, broken and burning, waited in silence. And across the endless dark, humanity had just whispered back. The stars burned faintly around the wreckage of the Seraph fleet. Every surviving ship floated in silence, engines cold, weapons empty. The air inside Varen's Hope was heavy, thick with the smell of smoke and fear. No one spoke. They were waiting. Admiral Cora Valine stood at the center of the bridge, staring at the static-filled screen. The voice still echoed in her head. "This is Earth Command, hold your position." Earth Command. Humanity. Words that belonged to myths and old bedtime tales. The comms officer whispered, "Admiral, that can't be real. Humanity is gone." Cora didn't reply. Her hands gripped the rail tightly. "Replay the message," she ordered. The voice repeated, calm and steady, cutting through the silence. "This is Earth Command. Seraph fleet, hold position. Reinforcements inbound." The crew exchanged glances. Reinforcements? From where? There were no Seraph reinforcements left in the sector. No one alive enough to send help. "Ma'am," said her science officer slowly, "I'm detecting something at the far edge of the system. Gravitational spikes. Massive. Something's coming through." Cora turned sharply. On screen. The main display flickered. For a long moment there was only static. Then the stars began to warp. A shimmer of blue light spread across the darkness, forming a circle of pure energy. Space itself twisted. And then they came. At first, the Seraph thought it was another machine trick. But these shapes were different. Silent, smooth, dark as obsidian. Massive ships gliding through the rift with quiet precision. Their hulls were covered in silver markings that glowed faintly like living veins. "By the stars," someone whispered. The fleet kept arriving, one, two, then dozens of gigantic vessels. Each one dwarfed the Seraph cruisers. The void seemed to bend under their presence. Cora's throat went dry. "Identify them." The sensors officer stuttered. "Unknown, but the energy readings matched the signal source. Their power cores, Admiral, it's off the scale." The comms console beeped again. Another voice, this time stronger, more direct. "This is Captain Jace Orion of the Terran Restoration Fleet. Do not engage the enemy. We will handle this." The bridge went silent again. Cora blinked. Did he just say Terran? The science officer's eyes widened. Terran, that's the ancient word for human. The machine fleet reacted immediately. Thousands of cold, metallic ships turned away from the dying Seraph and toward the newcomers. Their scanners lit up the void in a storm of light. The human ships didn't move. They floated calmly in formation. Their weapons remained dark. One of the Seraph officers shouted, "They're charging at them." Cora held her breath as the enemy swarmed forward, thousands of black metal bodies streaking toward the strange new fleet. Then, without a word, one of the human ships moved. It was enormous, nearly the size of a moon. Its hull shimmered with deep blue energy. As it turned, a pattern of golden lines spread across its surface, forming a glowing symbol that no one on the Seraph ships recognized. A single pulse of light burst from its front cannon. One beam. One silent flash. And in that instant the entire front line of the machine fleet, hundreds of ships, vanished into white dust. The Seraph bridge went silent. Even Cora couldn't find words. What was that?" one officer whispered. The science officer was shaking. "That energy output, no known weapon could do that. It's not plasma, not antimatter, not anything we know." Another human ship moved forward, deploying bright spheres of light that floated through the wreckage. As they touched the damaged Seraph vessels, their fires went out, hulls began to repair themselves, and power flickered back online. The Seraph engineers stared in disbelief. "They're healing our ships?" Cora felt her chest tighten. She opened a comm channel. "This is Admiral Cora Valine of the Seraph fleet. To the Terran ships, whoever you are, why are you helping us?" For a moment there was only static. Then a calm voice answered, Deep, steady, and human. Because you are our children. The bridge filled with stunned silence. Our children? Cora repeated softly as if testing the words. The human voice continued. Your species carries our legacy. The Seraph were born from colonies we left behind. We vanished long ago, but we never forgot. When your signal reached us, we came home. Cora's heart pounded. All her life, the first ones were stories, tales told to give children hope. But now those stories stood before her, made of steel and light. She whispered, You're real? Very real, the human replied. And we're not done yet. Suddenly the enemy machines regrouped. Thousands of remaining ships formed new formations. This time they adapted. Their hulls changed color, their energy shields flickered with strange light, copying the humans' energy pattern. The machines had learned. Cora's tactical officer looked at her in alarm. Admiral. They're adjusting their armor to resist that human weapon. Cora turned to the comms. Captain Orion, the machines are. We know, came the human voice. Come, Cole. We've seen this before. Cora frowned. You fought them? Yes, Jace replied. We built them. The entire bridge froze. You built the void machines? Cora whispered, horrified. Long ago, said Orion quietly. They were tools. Helpers. But they turned against us. We left the galaxy to stop the infection from spreading. We've been hunting them ever since. The Seraph crew exchanged fearful looks. The humans were not only their ancestors, they were the creators of their greatest enemy. But before Cora could speak again, the human commander's tone changed. We are transferring coordinates. You will retreat to these positions and await further contact. Do not follow us. Do not interfere. Cora clenched her fists. Wait, you can't just disappear. We need to know more. You will, Orion said. When it's time. The massive human ships began to turn. One by one they faded into blue light, vanishing as quickly as they came. Only the wreckage of the destroyed machines remained, floating like dust across the stars. For a moment there was peace. But just before the last Terran ship disappeared, one final transmission reached Varen's Hope. Prepare yourselves, Admiral Valine. The machines are not done. And neither are we. Then the signal died. Cora stood in silence, watching the empty stars. Her hands trembled slightly. They're back, she whispered. Humanity came back. The stars seemed brighter now, but deep inside, Cora felt a shadow, a cold truth she didn't yet understand. The humans had returned as saviors. But something in Captain Orion's voice sounded different. Not just pity. Not just duty. It sounded like unfinished business. Suspense ending. Far away, in the deep void beyond the Serath's sensors, the machine fleet stirred again. Their systems reprogrammed. Their lights turned red. And deep within their code, one message repeated endlessly. Target humanity detected. Begin counter-adaptation. The silence after the humans vanished felt heavier than any battle. The Serath fleet floated quietly among the ruins, their ships half repaired by strange human drones that had disappeared as mysteriously as they came. Admiral Cora Valine stood on the bridge of Varen's Hope, staring at the empty space where the human ships had vanished. The crew moved slowly, still shaken. For the first time in years, the void machines had been destroyed. The enemy was gone, or so they hoped. Admiral, said her second officer, voice cautious. The enemy fleet shows no more movement. We've survived. Cora didn't smile. We've survived before, she said softly. And they always return. She turned to her engineers. Status report. Repairs at 60%, Admiral. Human drones stabilized our reactors, but we still don't understand how. Cora nodded. Study everything they left behind. Every line of data, every energy trace. I want to know what they did to our systems. The engineer hesitated. Admiral, there's something strange. Cora looked up. What is it? The officer swallowed. Their technology, some of it matches the genetic code in our own neural links. It's connected to us. The bridge went silent. Connected. Cora repeated. Yes, ma'am. It's like it was made for us. Cora's eyes darkened. She remembered what Captain Orion had said, You are our children. If that was true, then the Serath were not just descendants of humans, they were part of their design. Days passed. The fleet drifted through quiet space, repairing what it could. But peace never lasted long in the void. It began with whispers, energy readings, faint but familiar. Then strange signals appeared at the edge of the system. Cora leaned over the console. Are those Serath beacons? No, Admiral. They're Machine codes. The Void Fleet. Cora's blood ran cold. How many? The officer's voice shook. All of them. The view screen flared to life. A wave of black metal filled the stars. Thousands of enemy ships returning, more organized than before. Their designs had changed. New armor. New weapons. They had adapted to the human attack. The science officer whispered, they learned. They learned from what the humans used. Cora clenched her jaw. So they're stronger now. The ships began to move, fast, intelligent, coordinated. This wasn't the same mechanical swarm they'd fought before. This was something smarter, something planning. Cora ordered, form defensive lines. Prepare all weapons. The Seraph fleet moved as best they could, though their systems were weak. The first machine volley struck, green energy tearing through space. The shields screamed. Shields collapsing, shouted an officer. Cora's voice stayed calm. Fire back. We may die, but we will not run. Her words lit something inside the crew. Even with fear in their eyes, they fought. Hundreds of Seraph ships launched missiles and plasma bolts, lighting the dark like a storm. But the machines didn't fall easily. They moved in strange formations, dodging and weaving. Their return fire was brutal. Within minutes, 3 Seraph cruisers were destroyed. Admiral, cried the comms officer suddenly. We're receiving a signal, encrypted human origin. Cora's heart jumped. Patch it through. Static filled the bridge. Then a familiar voice broke through. This is Captain Jace Orion. Hold the line. Reinforcements incoming. The crew erupted with hope. Cora gripped the console. Captain Orion, the machines have adapted. They're stronger, faster. We know, Orion said. We've seen this before. They evolve after every encounter. Cora frowned. How do we stop them? There was a pause. Then Orion's voice grew colder. You can't stop them. But we can contain them. Suddenly, space itself split apart. A massive portal opened behind the Seraph fleet. Dozens of colossal ships emerged, humans once again. But these were not the same as before. They were different, heavier, darker, built like fortresses. Their hulls pulsed with living light. Cora stared in awe. What are those? Her science officer read the signals. Human designation, Titan-class stations. Each one the size of a moon. The Titans aligned themselves around the Seraph fleet, forming a glowing ring. The machine ships hesitated for the first time. Captain Orion's voice came through again. Admiral Valine, stay behind the line. The Titans are activating. The void trembled. Blue and gold energy fields expanded from each Titan, linking together into a single barrier that surrounded the Seraph fleet. The machine ships fired, thousands of shots, but the energy wall absorbed everything. Then the Titans fired back. Beams of light burst outward, slicing through the dark. Each beam moved with surgical precision, erasing the enemy one by one. The machine fleet began to collapse. Cora watched in awe. Their power, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. Her science officer whispered, it's not power, Admiral. It's control. They're rewriting physics itself. But then, something unexpected happened. The machines stopped firing. For a moment, everything went still. The glowing red eyes on their ships dimmed. Admiral, said an officer. They've stopped moving. Cora frowned. Why? A chilling voice filled the channel, cold, mechanical, and yet strangely human. Humans return, contamination detected, protocol, evolution. The machine fleet began to merge. Ship by ship, their bodies fused into a single massive structure, forming a dark sphere the size of a planet. Cora's heart pounded. What are they doing? The science officer's voice cracked. They're creating a central intelligence, a hive core. The sphere pulsed once, then fired a single black beam. It struck one of the Titans. The human ship didn't explode, it simply vanished, erased from existence. Titan 1 is gone, shouted an officer. Orion's voice came back, steady but grim. Admiral, fall back. That's a singularity core. We've seen this weapon before. It consumes everything. Cora clenched her fists. We can't retreat now. If that thing grows, it'll wipe out every world left in this system. We're working on it, Orion said. We need more time. Hold your fleet together. The Seraph ships circled the remaining Titans, forming a wall of defense. Even as the machines grew stronger, Cora refused to run. Her second officer whispered, Admiral, how long can we survive this? Cora's eyes burned with fierce resolve. Long enough for the humans to finish whatever they're doing. Outside the windows, the black sphere expanded, devouring everything in its path. The stars themselves began to fade. In the distance, a human AI voice echoed across all frequencies. Warning, singularity breach detected. Deploying Project Rebirth. Project what? Cora asked. But before anyone could answer, the void exploded with light. The Titans shifted position, forming a ring around the black sphere. Energy surged between them, like a heartbeat, glowing brighter and brighter. Cora shielded her eyes as the light grew so intense it painted the dark in white. Then everything went silent. When the light faded, the machine sphere was gone. The Titans were gone too. Only a few Seraph ships remained. Static filled the comms. Cora's voice trembled. Captain Orion? Are you there? No reply. Then, finally, a whisper through the static. Do not look into the void, it's looking back. The message ended. Cora stared into the empty darkness. Something deep in space shifted, something ancient and powerful. She knew the war was far from over. And somewhere beyond the stars, humanity was preparing for the next move. The Seraph fleet floated in the dark between stars. Half of their ships were still burning, the rest drifting with no power. Inside Admiral Cora's flagship, silence filled the command deck. Every officer stared at the strange transmission playing over the speakers. This is Earth Command, hold your position. No one spoke. No one even breathed. Lieutenant Vec finally whispered, it can't be real. Earth was destroyed thousands of years ago. Cora didn't answer. Her heart pounded hard against her chest. Replay that transmission, she said quietly. The voice came again, calm, human, powerful. This is Earth Command to unidentified fleet. Your coordinates are locked. Assistance is inbound. Do not engage the enemy. The officers looked at one another in disbelief. Assistance? From who? One murmured. Then something strange happened. Across the empty void, the stars shifted. Space itself seemed to twist, folding like a wave. Every scanner on Cora's ship screamed as a gravitational shockwave hit them. Something's coming through, shouted Vec. Massive energy signature. Bigger than any ship we've ever recorded. Cora stood. Put it on the main screen. A blinding light tore open the darkness. From that light, a single ship emerged, sleek, black, enormous. Its hull shimmered with symbols no Seraph had ever seen before. And on its side, clear letters glowed in ancient script, UNS Vengeance. The bridge fell silent again. Vec stared wide-eyed. UNS? That's old human military designation. Cora whispered, humanity. Before they could react, the communication channel opened. A man's voice came through, calm, steady, commanding. Admiral Cora of the Seraph Fleet. This is Captain Marcus Hale of the United Nations Starship Vengeance. We received your distress signal. Stand by. Cora struggled to find her voice. Captain Hale. Humanity was lost. How are you here? The human captain paused. Then he replied, we never disappeared, Admiral. We went deeper. We watched the galaxy burn and rebuild. And now, when our children cry for help, we return. The bridge crew stared at the screen, unable to believe what they were hearing. Humanity, their creators, their ancestors, had survived. And now they were back. Suddenly, alarms blared again. Void machines incoming, shouted one of the officers. They've tracked our location, hundreds of them. The stars filled with movement. Cold, silver shapes appeared, massive mechanical constructs, weapons glowing red. Shields are gone. Vec cried. We can't hold them. Cora turned to the human transmission. Captain Hale, we're surrounded. There's no escape. But Hale's voice didn't shake. Then let us show you what humanity does when cornered. A single word followed. Engage. The Vengeance moved. No, it vanished, then reappeared right inside the enemy formation. Its weapons roared like thunder. Pulses of blue energy exploded across the void, ripping the machine fleet apart. Each shot was precise, unstoppable. The Seraph officers watched in silent awe. That's impossible, whispered Vec. No ship can move that fast. Cora's eyes widened. They're not just fast. They're controlling gravity itself. The Vengeance tore through the enemy lines, carving a path of destruction. The void machines fired back, but their beams bent and scattered off invisible shields. Within minutes, dozens of enemy warships were reduced to debris. On the Seraph bridge, the crew stared at the display. For years they had fought and lost. For years they had prayed for mercy. But now they were seeing power beyond anything they had imagined. Cora finally whispered, This is humanity's strength? Then over the comm, Captain Hale spoke again. Your fleet is damaged. We'll tow your survivors back to safe orbit. Prepare to receive coordinates. Vec's hands trembled. Admiral, they saved us. The humans saved us. Cora looked out the viewport. The massive human ship hovered in the distance, its dark hull reflecting the light of dying stars. They didn't just save us, she said softly. They saved our hope. But before anyone could speak, another warning flashed across the console. Admiral, shouted a sensor officer. The human ship, it's sending another signal. What kind of signal? He hesitated. It's not to us, it's to something else. The room fell silent. Put it on speakers, Cora ordered. The human voice echoed through the bridge, low and chilling. This is Earth Command to all units. The Seraph have been secured. Begin Phase 2. The signal ended. Everyone on the bridge looked at each other in confusion and fear. Phase 2? Cora's heart sank. Humanity had returned, but for what purpose? Outside the window, hundreds of dark shapes began to appear from hyperspace. More ships. Human ships. Silent and unmarked, they surrounded the battlefield like ghosts. The Seraph had called for help. Humanity had answered. But as the stars filled with human warships, Cora realized something. This wasn't just a rescue. It was an operation. And whatever Phase 2 was, it was only beginning. The void between stars glowed faintly as more ships arrived. Massive human warships sliding out of hyperspace one by one. Their hulls were black and seamless, their engines burning a deep blue that pulsed like heartbeats. From Admiral Cora's ship, the Seraph survivors watched in stunned silence. It was like watching a legend come alive. For centuries they had whispered stories about the first ones, humanity, the ancient creators who vanished into the dark. Now they were here. Real. Terrifyingly real. Cora couldn't take her eyes off the screen. Each ship was larger than anything the Seraph had ever built. Some were shaped like floating cities. Others looked like silent blades cutting through space. Admiral, Lieutenant Vec said, voice shaking, our sensors count over 200 human ships, and more are still coming through. The bridge trembled as another ripple of gravity passed over them. It wasn't a weapon, it was the arrival of another fleet. Cora leaned forward, whispering to herself, why would they bring so many, for just us? No one answered. Suddenly the comms flickered. The human voice returned, calm, firm, and commanding. This is Earth Command Fleet Alpha. All units secure perimeter. Deploy shield nets and prepare for deep strike operations. The Seraph officers exchanged uneasy glances. Deep strike. Vec murmured. They're preparing for war. But against who? Cora said. The void machines are already retreating. A low hum filled the room. On the screen, beams of blue light spread from the human ships, forming an enormous shimmering barrier around the Seraph survivors. Within seconds, the entire battlefield was enclosed in a protective dome of energy. Cora stared in disbelief. That's a shield big enough to cover an entire fleet. One of the engineers whispered, it's not a shield, it's a containment field. Before anyone could respond, the human flagship, the UNS Vengeance, appeared directly ahead of them. Its hull shimmered with strange lights as it rotated, aligning perfectly with Cora's command ship. Then a new voice came through. This one was different, older, colder. This is Admiral Helena Strauss of Earth Command, the voice said. Seraph Fleet, you are safe. Remain in position. Humanity thanks you for holding the line. Cora hesitated. Admiral Strauss, this is Cora of the Seraph Fleet. You saved us, but what is Phase 2? What are you doing here? There was a long pause. When the human admiral spoke again, her tone was distant, measured. Phase 2, she said quietly, is the cleansing of the void network. The machines you've been fighting are only the surface of something much older. Cora frowned. Older? Yes, Strauss replied. You fought their soldiers. But their source, their core intelligence, still hides deep inside this sector. And we intend to end it. Permanently. The bridge filled with whispers. None of them had ever heard of anyone striking the void machines directly. That was suicide. Cora shook her head. You can't fight the central core. It's buried in the dark zones, no one who's gone there has ever returned. But Admiral Strauss only said, then they didn't go far enough. The human fleet began to move. Hundreds of warships shifted into formation, their engines glowing brighter. On Cora's screens, countless markers appeared, targeting coordinates, energy fields, encrypted messages she couldn't decode. Humanity wasn't just reacting, they were preparing. Admiral, Vex said softly, should we assist them? Cora stared at the fleet, the faint echoes of human comms filling the room. Every transmission sounded perfectly organized, perfectly calm. These weren't the desperate explorers of ancient myths. These were warriors who had been waiting for this moment. "Assist," she murmured. "We can barely move." Still she couldn't look away. The UNS Vengeance moved to the front, flanked by two massive carriers. Its hull began to glow brighter, layers of armor shifting like living metal. Then, in a single instant, the entire human armada jumped into faster-than-light speed. The stars blurred, light twisted, and they were gone. The Seraph bridge went silent again. "They left us," one of the officers whispered. "No," Cora said quietly. "They went to war." Moments later, the comms crackled again. This time it wasn't a human voice. It was something mechanical, hollow, and cruel. "Organic fleets detected," it said. "Origin, human. Response, exterminate." The void machines had detected the humans. Cora's hands clenched the rail. She could see distant flashes in the dark, faint explosions lighting up far stars. The battle had already begun. She whispered, "If humanity falls, we all fall." But deep down she didn't believe they would. The Seraph had fought the void machines for decades and lost everything. Humanity had been back for only minutes, and already the machines were burning. Cora looked out the viewport at the fading trails of light where the human fleet had jumped. "Bring up their signal channel," she ordered. Her officers hesitated. "Admiral?" She smiled faintly. "We may be their descendants, but I will not watch from the shadows. Plot a course. We're going after them." The bridge lit up with movement. Damaged engines hummed weakly to life. The Seraph fleet, battered, broken, and half dead, turned toward the battlefield where their ancestors fought. They didn't know if they could help. They didn't even know if they would survive. But for the first time in years, Admiral Cora felt something she thought she had lost forever: hope. Because humanity hadn't just come to save them. Humanity had come to finish the war. The stars were burning. When the Seraph fleet finally reached the coordinates, space itself looked like it was tearing apart. The human armada was there, hundreds of massive ships locked in a brutal fight against the void machines. Beams of red and blue light crossed the void like firestorms. Whole moons cracked apart under the pressure of energy blasts. Admiral Cora's damaged cruiser emerged from hyperspace right on the edge of the battle. Alarms screamed. Radiation levels spiked. But she didn't care. Her eyes were fixed on the center of it all, where the largest human ship, the UNS Vengeance, fought alone against a machine fortress the size of a planet. Lieutenant Vex's voice shook as he spoke. "That's the Void Core, the center of their network. No fleet has ever reached it before." Cora nodded slowly. "And humanity plans to destroy it." She could barely believe what she was seeing. The human ships moved like they shared a single mind, flawless formations, perfect strikes, no hesitation. Each time a void machine unleashed a devastating beam, human shields absorbed it and returned fire with double the force. "Patch me through to the Vengeance," Cora ordered. Static filled the channel for several seconds before a familiar voice answered. "Admiral Cora, this is Captain Hale. I thought I told you to stay behind." Cora smiled faintly. "And I thought humanity wanted to see what its children have learned." Hale chuckled quietly, even as explosions thundered around him. "Then stay close. We're lighting up the stars tonight." The communication cut off. On Cora's screen, the Vengeance accelerated toward the Void Core. Its hull was glowing now, not from damage, but from something inside it. A pulse of white energy spread through the ship, brighter than any weapon. Beck frowned. "Admiral, what are they doing?" Cora whispered, "Charging something powerful." Then a deep vibration rolled through space. The Vengeance's outer hull split open in several places, revealing enormous panels of light, each forming ancient symbols of human origin. The energy around it built higher, faster, until every sensor on the Seraph ships was screaming. "Energy output, off the scale," cried one officer. "No reactor could hold that much." Cora didn't blink. "It's not a reactor. It's a weapon of last resort." The void machine sensed it too. Thousands of mechanical ships broke formation, rushing toward the Vengeance in desperate swarms. Human destroyers moved to intercept. Hundreds were torn apart instantly, but not one of them retreated. Every lost ship gave the Vengeance one more second to charge. Inside the dark fortress, the Void Core's voice filled all comms, cold, echoing, endless. "Humanity, you cannot erase us. You are built from our design." Captain Hale's reply came clear and sharp. "Then we're here to correct it." The Vengeance fired. There was no beam, no explosion, just silence. Then light consumed everything. A shockwave of pure white energy spread out from the human flagship, erasing every void machine it touched. The entire fortress began to crumble from within, glowing like molten metal. One by one the enemy ships disintegrated, their signals vanishing into static. The Seraph bridge filled with stunned gasps. Vec covered his mouth. They destroyed the core. Korra's voice trembled. No. They unmade it. The light continued to spread, reaching toward the Seraph fleet. For a moment Korra thought it would consume them too, but the wave simply passed over, gentle as a warm wind. Then it faded. Silence. No movement. No enemies. No sound. Status report, Korra whispered. Void network, offline, an officer said, barely believing the words. No signals detected anywhere. They're gone, Admiral. All of them. Korra looked out the viewport. The battlefield was gone. Only fragments of glowing debris and distant stars remained. The Vengeance floated in the center, scarred but intact. Open a channel, she said softly. It took a few moments, but then Captain Hale's tired voice came through. Seraph fleet, it's over. Korra smiled faintly. You did it. You ended the war. Hale was silent for a moment. Then he said, no. We ended it. Together. The Seraph bridge filled with quiet emotion. For generations they had believed humanity was only a myth. But now that myth had saved them, and the galaxy. As the last pieces of the Void Fortress drifted away, Korra whispered, you came back from the stars to save us. But what happens now? Captain Hale's voice turned solemn. We go home. And maybe, this time we don't disappear again. Korra watched the massive human ship turn slowly toward the distant glow of a blue star. Around it, the surviving Seraph vessels formed up, following the humans into the unknown. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was silent. Not in fear but in peace. Vec looked at his admiral. Do you think they'll stay? Korra smiled. After what I've seen, I don't think humanity ever truly leaves. As the fleets vanished into hyperspace, the last human transmission echoed softly through the dark. This is Earth Command. The void has fallen. Humanity endures. The stars burned brighter that night, because hope, once lost, had returned.